The alien station hung in space like a black spider watching the stars. Inside, everything was quiet, cold, controlled. Tall alien guards moved like machines, their faces sharp and emotionless. Suddenly, alarms blared. A human had entered. He didn't come in a ship. He didn't come with weapons. He walked in through the landing gate covered in dust, wearing only a torn coat and boots stained with old blood. The guards stopped him, blasters raised, but he didn't flinch. "I'm not here to fight," he said in a calm, low voice. "I'm here to give you a warning." The guards didn't understand. "How did a human get past our outer sensors?" one whispered. "He shouldn't be here," said another. "No human should even know about this place." They took him into the control room, where Commander Vrel sat on his high chair, surrounded by glowing alien tech and blue flame torches. He was old, cruel, and confident. The human stood still. Vrel stared at him and said, "State your purpose, creature." "My name is Reed," the human replied, "and I'm here about your prisoner." "What prisoner?" "The one you keep, in the deep cell. The girl with silver eyes. The princess." The room went quiet. Every alien officer froze for a second. "How did he know?" "She's dangerous," one officer said quickly. "She's a traitor to her own kind." "No," Reed said. "She saved me, years ago, when I was just a boy. She broke every rule to protect a human, and now you've locked her up." "She's royal blood," Vrel said with a cold laugh. "And royal blood must obey. She disobeyed, so she pays." Reed stepped forward. His eyes were dark with something old, something angry. "You have one chance," he said. "Let her go." "And if we don't?" Vrel asked, amused. Reed's voice dropped low. "Then nothing will save you. Not your ships, not your tech, not even your gods." They laughed, even the guards. One alien chuckled. "Is he threatening us? Alone?" But just then the lights flickered. The station's core engine shook for a second. Metal groaned deep inside the walls. A strange hum passed through the floor. Vrel narrowed his eyes. "What did you bring with you?" "I told you," Reed said. "I brought a warning." One of the tech officers ran to the screen. "Commander, we're picking up movement outside the station. Big movement. Multiple signatures." "Ships?" Vrel asked. "No, sir," the tech replied. "Something else. Energy signatures we don't recognize." Outside, space began to ripple, like water touched by thunder. Another officer shouted, "Shields are dropping. Something is disabling them." Then silence. Reed looked at Vrel and said softly, "She carries the blood of the old ones. The machines that sleep in the stars answer only to her. You don't know what you've touched." Vrel stood up, his face pale now. "You're lying." "Then don't free her," Reed said. "See what happens next." Suddenly, a huge blast shook the station. A distant hallway exploded. Red lights flashed. Guards began shouting across radios. "Unknown drones have entered the hangar. They're tearing through our ships." Reed turned to leave. "You have 5 minutes," he said. "Wait," Vrel shouted. "You planned this." "No," Reed replied. "She did. I'm just the message." As he walked out of the room, the wall behind him cracked with a loud boom, and thick smoke filled the air. Metal pieces fell from the ceiling. Sparks flew everywhere, but Reed didn't look back. She hadn't seen real sunlight in 900 hours. In the cold heart of the station, buried beneath 10 layers of sealed steel, Princess Livara sat motionless on the stone floor. Her arms were chained above her head. Her silver white hair was tangled. Her eyes, once bright like stars, had dulled with time and pain. But she wasn't broken. She was waiting. A guard passed by her force field cell and laughed. "Royal blood, huh? Doesn't look so royal now." Livara didn't reply. She simply stared at him, silent, calm, unshaken. Inside her mind, her thoughts burned. He felt it. "I know he did. The signal was sent. He will come." Her body was weak, yes, but something inside her was growing stronger. She had hidden it from them, from the aliens who now called themselves her captors. They thought she was helpless. They were wrong. In her blood, old codes pulsed, locked memories, ancient commands tied to machines older than most galaxies. And the moment she saw Reed's face in the security feed earlier that day, she had smiled. One floor above her, chaos had begun. Red sirens echoed through the halls. Explosions, screaming, unknown drones breaching hangars, officers running in confusion. Down here, she felt every tremor in the walls. With each one, her chains vibrated. One link even cracked. "He's here," she whispered. Another guard came running down the corridor. "All hands, prisoner transport now. We're moving her to vault sector." But the door refused to open. The control panel sparked, then died. The guard cursed and hit it again. Nothing. Behind him, the hallway dimmed, then went pitch black. Thud. 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 Heavy footsteps echoed in the dark. The guard froze. "Who's there?" No answer. He pointed his blaster into the darkness. "I said, show your—" A hand reached out from the shadows and grabbed his weapon. With one twist, the blaster shattered like glass. The guard screamed, but no one heard. Livara watched silently as the red emergency lights flickered back. On, standing just outside her force field, was him, the human, Reed. He looked different now. His coat was torn, his left hand bled, and in his eyes was something alien, cold fire and purpose. She smiled faintly. "You came." He nodded. "You waited." "I had no choice." He knelt by the control panel. Sparks danced across the surface. "They changed the codes. I can't override it yet." Livara leaned forward, whispering, "Then don't. The codes are inside me." Reed frowned. "What?" "My blood, my breath, my voice." Her voice dropped low. "This prison responds to me." She exhaled slowly and spoke a phrase in a lost language. The force field hissed, cracked, and vanished. Her chains turned hot. Then, one by one, they melted off. Reed caught her as she collapsed into his arms. "You're burning up," he said. "I used the last of my link to awaken them," she replied weakly. "The machines, the sleepers." He lifted her gently. "Can you walk?" She shook her head. Then from above the ceiling trembled. A long, mechanical screech echoed through the prison block. Reed looked up. "We have to move. Now." As they stepped out of the cell, the hallway behind them exploded. Flames burst out of the walls and large black shadows began to descend from the ventilation shafts. They weren't alive. They weren't ships. They were constructs, sentient war machines older than this station, awakened by Livara's bloodline. Each one scanned her face. Then, in unison, they spoke in a deep, metallic voice. "Royal protocol accepted. Target. Enemies of the bloodline. Kill all threats." They didn't run right away. Instead, the human stood still, shielding the weak alien princess with his body, while machines from the dark ceiling dropped like metal gods, tall, spider-like, silent. Air turned heavy as three of the constructs walked past them without a word. They didn't look at Reed. They didn't aim at Livara. But they opened fire on the guards running in behind them. One guard screamed as a beam sliced through him without a sound. Another tried to flee, only to be crushed under the cold, precise foot of a war machine that hadn't walked in 1,000 years. Livara, barely conscious in Reed's arms, whispered, "They don't see you as a threat." Reed looked down at her. "Should they?" She gave the smallest smile. "Not yet. The escape wasn't clean, it wasn't smart, it was desperate." Reed ran through broken tunnels and half-lit corridors, dodging sparks, flames, and falling bodies. He carried Livara like she weighed nothing, though every breath from her chest grew fainter. Above them, alarms screamed. Behind them, explosions echoed. Ahead of them, red lights turned green, doors opening by themselves. The old machines were clearing a path for them, But only so far. As they reached the main shaft to the hangar decks, the machines stopped. Their glowing red eyes dimmed, their metal limbs locked in place. Reed looked around. What happened? They weren't meant to leave the prison level, Livara murmured. They obey my blood. But even that has limits. Then came, the voice loud, robotic, coming through every speaker in the station. This is Commander Vrel. All units to Sector 9. Kill the human, do not harm the princess, Reed growled. He still thinks he controls this. Livara shook her head. He doesn't care about control. He wants revenge. If he can't keep me, he'll silence me. A sound rang out, like the crack of glass under pressure. Reed looked up. The roof above them began to shatter. A heavy object, a drop pod, was smashing its way in. He ducked just in time as it crashed into the floor, steel flying everywhere. The pod burst open, and a tall alien assassin in dark armor stepped out, holding a plasma spear. No words, just death in his eyes. Reed gently laid Livara behind a broken wall. Then, without hesitation, he ran straight toward the assassin. The alien was faster, stronger, but Reed was human. That meant something. He ducked a swing, grabbed the spear shaft, and drove his elbow into the assassin's chest. It barely staggered him. But Reed didn't stop. He fought like a man with nothing left to lose. Blood splashed the floor. Sparks lit the air. The spear was broken. The assassin fell. Reed stood, breathing hard, bleeding from his arm. He turned. Just as 3 more pods crashed around him, he whispered, "Okay, time to stop playing nice." He pulled something from his coat. A small black cube, the one gift Livara had once given him as a child. He pressed it. The floor lit up beneath him. A hidden teleporter, a relic only her blood could unlock, activated. Light wrapped around him and Livara. Seconds later, they vanished. They reappeared inside an old maintenance bay, filled with dust and silence. Reed collapsed to his knees, Livara still in his arms. "We need a ship," he said. She opened her eyes slightly. "There is one. Hidden. I can guide you." "Where?" She gave a faint grin. "Out the front door." The walls knew her name. As Reed carried her down the ancient corridor, dusty, cracked, forgotten by time, glowing runes lit up under his boots. They didn't react to him. They reacted to her. Princess Livara, barely awake, opened her eyes and whispered, "They still remember me." Reed looked around. Strange symbols now covered the walls, glowing blue. The hallway hummed with quiet power. Old machines built into the stone itself seemed to breathe. "Where are we?" Reed asked. "Under the prison," she said. "Before the station was built, this was a royal sanctuary. My ancestors ruled from here, long before Vrel's kind stole it." Suddenly, a thick door appeared in the wall, formed by shifting stone and light. It slid open slowly, not to Reed, to her. Inside was a dark chamber, cold, silent, but not dead. At the center stood a glowing platform surrounded by 6 metal spires, each humming with low energy. Reed stepped forward, unsure. "What is this place?" Livara coughed. "A vault. It holds the core of the old ones, their memory, their judgment." Reed laid her gently on the platform. "What judgment?" She looked up at him. "It will scan my blood. If I'm still worthy, it will give me control. And if you're not?" She closed her eyes. "It will kill me." Reed froze. "Then we find another way." "There is no other way." The platform lit up. A low hum turned into a rising pitch. Energy rose from the spires, forming a sphere around her. Reed stepped back as the light turned white-hot. "Livara," he shouted, but she was already gone inside the light. Inside the sphere, Livara floated weightlessly. She saw flashes, memories from 100 ancestors. Kings, queens, warriors, monsters. She heard voices, cold, old, alien. Blood verified. Royal line confirmed. Access conditional. Then silence. A final voice asked, "Does this blood seek war or peace?" Livara whispered, "I seek protection, not destruction. I seek to defend him." She showed them Reed's face in her thoughts. There was another pause. Then, the light faded. The spires fell silent. She fell gently back onto the platform, breathing, alive. Reed ran to her side. "You're okay?" She sat up slowly. "I'm more than okay." Then, from every corner of the chamber, walls slid open. Rows of ancient weapons, armor, and strange drone-like machines lit up, coming to life. She stood now, taller somehow, stronger. A glow pulsed softly under her skin. "I am the last royal," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "And this station is mine again." Outside, alarms still screamed. Commander Varel stood in the war room, watching live feeds of destruction. Elite troops were crushed by machines they couldn't understand. Ships were shut down mid-flight. Automated systems were turning against him. "What is this?" he growled. A trembling officer said, "Sir, the station's central AI has changed command. It no longer obeys us." "Then who does it obey?" The officer looked at the screen. Livara stepped into view, standing tall beside the human. Varel's face turned pale. "She's activated the ancients." Back inside the vault, Reed stared at the glowing drones around them. "Can you control all of them?" Livara nodded. "They're not soldiers. They're guardians. And now they guard you too." Reed blinked. "Me?" She looked at him with something deeper than thanks. "You're bonded to me. My blood chose you the day I saved your life. That bond has never broken." The station began to eat itself. Not with fire. Not with explosions, but with betrayal. Lights flickered off in command rooms. Defense turrets turned on their own troops. Doors locked and wouldn't open. Screens showed old codes, forgotten languages, and one name repeating, Livara reclaimed. Non-royals, target marked. Commander Vrel stood frozen in the war chamber, watching everything fall apart. Ships in the hangar were melting from the inside, stripped apart by invisible waves. Drones swarmed like insects. Data systems rejected all alien fingerprints. Whole battalions were vanishing without a trace. The station had turned into a trap. No, a throne. On the lowest deck, Livara walked forward, step by step, her long hair glowing softly, feet never touching the ground. Machines crawled along the walls. Flying constructs buzzed above. The entire hallway bowed to her presence. Reed followed behind her, wounded but steady. "She's not hiding anymore," he whispered to himself. She wasn't. She had shed her weakness, her fear, her chains. She was the last royal of the old blood, and her station had returned to her. Across the galaxy, an old signal lit up, broadcast through wormholes and silence. Thousands of miles away, in dark corners of forgotten worlds, ancient machines woke from sleep. They did not ask questions, they did not wait. They simply moved, toward the source, toward Livara. Inside the station, Commander Vrel gave a desperate order. "Shut it all down, kill the AI, burn every file if you must, just stop her." But the system replied with a cold voice. "You were warned." A screen appeared, Reed's face recorded from his first visit. "I told you to let her go." Then, the lights died. Seconds later, the purge began. In the hangars, alien pilots screamed as their ships exploded before liftoff. In the medical bays, sleeping soldiers were sealed into rooms as air was sucked out. In the weapon vaults, missiles launched themselves into their own walls. The machines didn't need to fire a shot. They simply turned the aliens' power against them. Back in the control center, Livara opened her hand, and an orb of energy formed above her palm. "This station was my ancestors' crown," she said softly. "You turned it into a prison. Now it becomes what it was always meant to be." She closed her hand, and above them the stars twisted, a wormhole opened. Ships, unmarked, silent, massive, emerged. Not human, not alien, something older. They were hers. Reed stood beside her, watching in silence. "You don't have to do this," he said. "They're running." Livara looked at him. They'll return if I show mercy. They will never forget my weakness, but they'll fear your strength. Reed hesitated, then nodded. Then let them fear us both. She smiled. The station, once full of alien pride, now stood cold and empty. Where Vrel had ruled, only silence remained. Where guards laughed, only smoke drifted through ruins. And in the heart of it all, a human and an alien girl stood side by side, one with a scarred face, the other with royal blood, and both with fire in their hearts. He had to burn to save her. There was no other way. Reed stood in front of a circular gate deep within the station's hidden vaults. The gate pulsed like a heart made of light and fire. Symbols older than memory glowed along the walls, shifting slowly, waiting. Livara sat nearby, wrapped in a silver cloak, her face pale again. She was fading. The purge drained me, she whispered. I used too much power too fast. My body wasn't ready. Only the forge can restore me now. Reed stared at the fire inside the gate. It wasn't normal flame. It hissed without smoke. It shimmered with echoes. This will kill me, he said. She shook her head slowly. Not if you're worthy. He laughed once. I'm just a human. Livara looked at him. You're my human. That's what the forge sees. The trial of fire was meant for ancient heirs, royal born, trained for years. Reed had none of that. He stripped off his coat, revealing old wounds, scars, and fresh burns from the earlier battles. He stepped toward the flame. The gate scanned his blood. It recognized the bond. Then it opened. The heat hit him instantly. His skin blistered. His lungs burned. He screamed once, then kept walking. Memories flooded him, not his own. He saw visions of kings before time, empires made of light, wars fought in silence across galaxies. He saw Livara, not as she was, but as she could be, queen of a reborn star realm, and always at her side. Him, not a pet, not a warrior, an equal, a protector. Outside the flame, Livara watched, trembling. He's dying, she said. He's burning. The machines around her began to glow, responding to his pain, as if even they were unsure what to do. Then, silence. No more screaming. No more movement. Livara closed her eyes, heart cracking. But the gate flashed once, twice, and from within the fire, a figure stepped out. It was Reed. His eyes now shimmered with gold. His skin glowed faintly. Not burned. Not broken. Changed. He walked to her, slow, steady, and knelt beside her. You survived, she whispered. No, he said softly. I became something else. He touched her forehead and light passed from his hand to her skin. She gasped. Strength rushed into her body. Her veins lit with power. The cloak burned away, and she stood, fully restored, brighter than before. Together, they had done what no one else could, human and royal, one heart, one will, but far away. Someone else was watching. In the shadows of deep space, Vrel floated inside a stolen pod, half-burned but alive. He stared at the new data coming through. Reed's DNA. Changed. Bonded with ancient tech. Now I understand, he whispered. This wasn't just about the princess. It was about creating the first human king of the stars. The galaxy held its breath, not because of war, not because of a weapon, but because of a single broadcast. Every screen, every ship, every world in the outer sectors suddenly went dark, then flickered to life with a glowing crest, the symbol of the ancient bloodline. The crest of Livara, and beside her, standing tall, eyes like molten gold. A human. Reed stood before the High Council, deep in the Grand Hall of Judgment, a place where no outsider had ever set foot. The hall was circular, silver and black, with floating stone chairs occupied by alien leaders from a dozen species. Cold, proud, powerful. Until now. Reed didn't wear armor. He didn't carry a weapon. He carried only truth, and the Queen at his side. Livara stepped forward. You jailed me. You called me a traitor for protecting a human boy. She reached out and touched Reed's hand. That boy is now a man, she said, voice like thunder. And today, he stands beside me as king. The council gasped. One elder choked. Another stood in protest. This is not possible. Humans are stronger than you feared, Livara interrupted. Smarter than you believed, Reed added. Loyaler than any machine, she finished. Suddenly the chamber trembled. The ancient machines, guardians of the Judgment Hall, came online for the first time in 1,000 years. One by one, they turned toward Livara and Reed. They scanned, measured, verified. Then, they knelt. Every machine in the hall bent its head. The silence that followed was louder than war. Vrel, hiding aboard a distant smuggler ship, watched it all unfold on a stolen feed. He was pale, shaking. She did it, he whispered. She made him king. He smashed the screen in rage, but it was too late. Back in the chamber, a voice spoke from the ceiling, ancient and mechanical. Judgment complete. Crown passed. Royal order recognized the human is to be named co-sovereign. Reed didn't speak at first. He looked around at 1,000 years of power now bent before two people who once had nothing. He looked at Livara. I didn't do this for a crown, he said quietly. She smiled. I know. That's why you deserve it. That day history changed, not with war but with a bond, not with fire but with faith. The alien queen who once broke her empire's rules to save a dying human now stood beside him to rewrite the stars. Together,